everyone is kind of preaching group coaching and the whole one to many. Like, how do you stand out as the authority figure in that one to one space? Some fear there, fearful of doing to someone else what was done to me. Because I kind of live by a code, and I tell this to my children too, like, don't treat anyone the way you would not want to be treated. And I know that definitely factors into my mindset.
Think this is some sort of money wound, and I don't want to do it to someone else because if this is your motivation, this is not alignment, this is money wound. As one-on-one coaching or one-on-one services a profitable business model, what should you do? A group container or maybe a hybrid container? What if your audience desires one-on-one coaching and you want to scale and you want to grow and you want to have profitable business? If you're thinking about how to scale your business and you love one-on-one container, or you're thinking about one-on-one container, or maybe you're debating whether or not you should keep one-on-one and do a group coaching or maybe combine them together, this episode is for you. We're also going to dive into how to price your services based on the value of the transformation and not the money wound. We're also going to talk about self-worth because in this live coaching podcast episode, my guest is also going to coach me on self-worth. And my request was specifically how to attract people who are more influential and how to stop attracting broke people, not just in my business, but in my life. You're here for a treat. This episode is going to bless you. Enjoy. So on my podcast, I often do like two different variations of interviews, like do like standard classic podcasting questions and answers, but I also do coaching live when people come to the podcast willing to be coached and willing to coach because I also ask them about their expertise for either for my life and for my business. So let's get started. So before we dive into your like coaching question that you came to the platform, can you tell us about who you are, what you do, and yeah, like what brought you here?
I'm so excited to be here after we stalking each other for a while. So totally cool to be here. I am a trauma informed life and business coach. My niche is helping moms who've had some narcissists in their background. They've kind of dealt with some things. Maybe you've had some therapy, but you're ready to step into that next leadership CEO and break those patterns that sometimes we don't always see for ourselves, and somebody else kind of needs to point them out to us.
Awesome. And I think one of the things that really attracted me to your account, because I am a clinical psychologist, well, former clinical psychologist. I guess for the US legalities, I can call myself clinical psychologist in the US until you have full on license in the US, but I'm licensed in other countries. That is my background. Trauma informed coaching, trauma informed therapy, trauma informed work is so important for me. When we started talking, this is really interesting and this is really what connects. How can I help you today? What is your one coaching question that you came to the podcast for?
Well, I will say that I found your IG and started binging your content because I like how you work one to one with your clients and really dive into that clinical psychology piece because I'm a psychology nerd too. So I guess in a sea of places where everyone is kind of preaching group coaching and the whole one to many, like, how do you stand out as the authority figure in that one to one space?
Yeah. Tell me about like where are you leaning more, like if you could not fail whatsoever, if you could make whatever money you are willing to make with your business, which path would you choose? Would you choose one to one? Would you choose group? And why?
See, I like to have my cake and eat it too. So I would probably say both, only because obviously we want to have the amount of impact with as many people as we can, right? But I think there's also something to be said for that vulnerable one to one coaching, that there are definitely people out there who don't want to share amongst a group. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe amazing healing can happen in group spaces, but there are people who just might not be ready for that step and definitely need that extra care and handling, in particularly when dealing with narcissism and having been burnt many times over and over again. So that's the mix that I find with my clients.
If it is okay, I would like to ask you, like, because I would like to approach this question from both alignment standpoint, and we're gonna dig deep into alignment and into fears too, because there's few things that I might sense in that question, and also we do our businesses to be profitable, right? Like we're going to talk about revenue too. And at the end of our coaching session, my goal is for you to have like really strong foundation where you have your number, where you have your alignment, when you have your actual reality, like the actual resources you have right now. So you can start building piece by piece and maybe not like the whole vision like within the next 30 days, but maybe start putting together like the first test that you can test and see if how market responds and how you could move forward. Does it sound good?
That sounds absolutely perfect. You called it. There are definitely some fears and some things that are not quite where they need to be. So I would welcome any opinions whatsoever.
Oh yeah, we're gonna dive into
Go
it.
ahead, let's do it.
So when it comes to like your money revenue, and I know like it can decide like multiple subject, what is your goal? And I also want to give you permission, and I want to give everybody's permission when you hear this, the answer to this question is really like I'm really against of the cult in coaching industry. So unless your goal is $1 million per year, you're less than, because one of my mentors and one of my coaches who built multi-million-dollar coaching company and coaching business recently descaled her coaching program to actually work one-on-one, and her number is less than $1 million, right? I think it was around 500K, like just to be absolutely profitable and happy. And she was sharing her feelings, how like will my audience see me as less than. So I want to give you absolute permission to name your number out of alignment and also not out of fear, because again, failure is a feedback. It's not like that you can reach the number that you have set. And just maybe you need to pivot. Maybe you need to pivot with how you provide messaging to your offer. Maybe you need to pivot in your audience, because what you're selling can be highly profitable. And because the higher you go, the more affluent you are with the money, and you don't need really strategy anymore. Your demons are really getting louder and louder. So, what is your money? Like how much you want to make? Let's say within next like a year or two, like what is your financial goal? Like let's put the time cap on that.
Yeah, no, I think for me to be comfortable, you know, a $75,000 year, if you want to kind of break it down in that regard. And it's because I am a realist. And I think that the coaching industry is kind of full of so many people saying, the sexy thing right now is to say 20K months, 25K months, whatever those things are. But at the end of the day, I think there's work-life balance to that, and the season of life that I'm in, I don't want to overcommit myself and not be able to deliver to my clients. And that may change in a couple of years. I totally expect it to. But for right now, where I'm at, that is where I am in alignment and most comfortable.
Okay. So what makes it uncomfortable to make it, let's say, to like 100K or 120K?
That is a good question. I guess there are a couple of things where I have been in coaching programs before where I've paid. That's like everybody always says, well, I can't charge that because I wouldn't pay it. I'm the opposite. I have paid that kind of money to be in a coaching container. And at the end, having left a container and being not having the financial ROI, even though I don't look at anything as misspent money. I definitely learned a lesson. And I would say, like you said, there is some fear there, fearful of doing to someone else what was done to me. Because I kind of live by a code, and I tell this to my children too, like, don't treat anyone the way you would not want to be treated. And I know that definitely factors into my mindset.
I want to ask you, are you bringing your own experience or are you projecting your own experience on your audience when you set that goal? Is it true alignment? It's like, you know what? 75K, I want to work with like one or two people per month. That's it. Like, absolutely 100% lifestyle business. I have other finances coming in. Perfect. Or I was hurt financially and emotionally. This is some sort of money wound. And I don't want to do it to someone else because if this is your motivation, this is not alignment. This is money wound.
And I would definitely agree with that 100%. The entrepreneurial space right now, I think, there's everybody saying, like you need to have a funnel, have this beautiful website, have brand, like there's all these little pieces. And at the end of the day, most of us come into this space of entrepreneurship. I think most of us, you want to help and you want to do good. And I think once you get into this online space, there's so much noise out there where it's like, well, you need this, you need that. And if you invest on all the things that everybody says that you need, you'll have a website and a brand and all the pretty things. But at the end of the day, you'll be cash poor. You'll have plenty of experience, but you'll be cash poor. I had to tell one of my friends because she was kind of lamenting something similar. And I said, we have to remember that before we entered the online jungle, we were already badasses. Like we were already
Mhm.
killing life. Like she had an amazing resume. My in real life, I guess if you want to call it resume, is amazing. And I'm like, why are we feeding into all these demons? And you're right. It's definitely a money wound. We're actually out here being authentic, being ourselves, being real, but yet, the financials aren't kind of matching up, I guess.
Yeah. And I think there are two parts of it, right? Because I've been in coaching containers too. And I I think for last year, I spent quite a bit of time in this bitterness. Like, well, but I paid like X amount of dollars, right? And I would always be mad at my mentors. One of my first mentors, that was actually my dream to be in her program. And I was actually denied the first time because I was not quite there yet. So I'm a high achiever. So in 8 months, I pull myself together and like I work with her program coach by my initiative. I said, like, listen, I want to be you when I grew up, and I want to be in Jerisha's container. Let's go. And she took me like under her wing, and like I had one-on-one mentor. And I got so mad because when at the end of the container, I mean, her life was lifing. And at the end of her container, also the trust recession started to happen as service providers, we might have life happen to us, right? We go through divorce, through new marriages, through grief, through a bunch of stuff, right? And we may or may not show up for our clients. But also, after being years in entrepreneurship, like I started to realize that until I have my agency to make my own decision as a business owner, it doesn't matter how much money I paid that coach. That coach is not running my business. Like, unless I hire the coach as my number two, as my, I don't know, like CTO, CFO, COO, whatever, and she's running my business as a number two, I can demand success of my business because I took her coaching container. And I, after like over time, I realized that either it is not applicable to my business that I want to run, or like, is there like, well, change your business if you want to work, if you want to make it work, or it's like educated decision that it's not working. And also like the business aspect of it is just the tenacity. Sometimes you can do everything right and it's not working. And kind of bringing back to your initial thought an initial question. We're still on the money thing. So
Yes.
we're not quite in the container. And it's also responsibility of your client. You have responsibility to show up and show out, absolutely. And you have a responsibility. If I were have any grievances about my mentor and a coach, I wanted more transparency in the moment, because if she would come forward and say, hey, I'm going through divorce right now, and I'm going through grief right now, and I don't know how to show up in my coaching container. Like, I have my program coaches and they will carry you through. Please trust them. But like, it's been really tough season for everybody. But with that said, your clients are responsible for their results. Even in therapy, when clients come to me and they say, hey, like, I want healing, the healing won't happen until a person, a client, is at the threshold when they take responsibility for their healing. The same in coaching, right? Until we reach the threshold of the required change, we just won't change, right? And as a provider, your responsibility is just to show up, market, to treat others as you want to be treated, and collect the marketing data and see how you can adjust and build your funnel. So, what resonates with you?
And I will say absolutely. There's a point of self responsibility. In my previous life, funny enough, I worked in corrections. And I definitely had a level of frustration as I was a case manager, and someone would reoffend and they would come back into the program. And I would say, you made it out, right? You went through the program, you were out on the street, you got a job, but you're back here for whatever reason. I would take it personally, very much so, until I had to realize I'm not out there living life for them. I'm not keeping them from using drugs or whatever other offense they were doing. And it was that removal from personal responsibility. And then, of course, the self responsibility that I had to say, well, if I don't like this job, I need to find a new one.
When you have those pieces in place, right? When you realize that the investment that your client is making, their client, and they make an investment for themselves, right? It's a sign of commitment, right? I don't subscribe to believe that the more money you invest, the more committed you are. Sometimes people throw money at the problem, but it's a sign of commitment, right? Like, when you say that, and like, if you release the more traumatic experience with like coaching industry, is it still 75K?
For my first year, I don't know, I think I would have to dig a little deeper. I think that I would have to figure out, I have an offer and I have a framework, and I'm very proud of it because it's my life framework. I know it works because I'm my own guinea pig. I think I would need to do some more work, probably work my own program in and of itself to feel like, okay, I know I can confidently go. I know I can deliver the transformation, but obviously there's some deeper money wounds there that I know I have to work through, at least from the coaching perspective. Now, when I put on my other hat, like I did earlier today, and I'm like, I have to kind of remind myself, like, wait a minute, these are my accomplishments, and absolutely 100%. I'm capable of delivering. I know this. But my heart kind of bleeds a little bit, I think, for all our newer entrepreneur friends who are coming into this space. I don't want to see them taken advantage of either. So I kind of have that little, and don't tell anybody, but because my persona is a badass, but I definitely have a little bit of a bleeding heart and a soft spot for our newer, especially moms, who many of us, I know that's why I came into this space, because you just want to be home with your children, you want to make a little extra money, you want to contribute to your household, and it's so easy to buy into all the noise in this space. So balancing, my justice warrior with, yes, I know I can deliver these amazing results. And that's something that I have to tweak for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really changing your relationship with money, right? And also, like, maybe like, I don't know if we can get to the niching down and demographics in this call, but like, mompreneurs, they don't have to be broken vulnerable or like having financial troubles. They can be mompreneurs who are CEOs of like successful corporate companies, and they're done. They're so done because they can't spend time with their children, and they have the money and they have the resources to invest, and they're looking at you and say, "Hey, I'm so done, and I don't resonate with Tony Robbins of it all, big coaches who are screaming like do X, Y, and Z, do the funnels. Like I don't know what they're even talking about. I can deliver this. Can I can you help me?" Or like they're working with a business coach and they're like, "Hey, I understand something is not lining up." And I work with a therapist, I work with a coach. Help me to dig deeper into my business so it can finally work again. Like they're not going into the business from footsteps to entrepreneurship. They might be going from boardroom to entrepreneurship because they're so down. And I've seen so many women in coaching containers that I was part of, like either single moms or they're like they have spouses, right? You making like $1 million as a CEO in corporate. You don't have to market. You don't have to do anything. You can just like show up to work, lead your team. Like, yeah, Eugene, but like I'm so done. I missed five of my children's birthdays and like and football games and like family reunions. I'm done. Like, F the money.
Yeah,
So,
it
and
definitely
like
isn't worth it. Yeah.
I rather like I saved up a lot of money where like I can either like and you know like some of them are very extreme and like I'd rather be a bartender. Like
The
and
tips are
like they're
good.
like you don't really understand what you're talking about because my husband is a bar like used to work as a bartender, like you don't even know this side of the world. So I think I'm going to leave the financial aspect like up to you. Like I just want to give yourself permission, and if you need to borrow my belief, it can be more than that. Because within 4 months when I started like coaching container, I was charging like $3,000, something like that. And with a combination of career coaching, business coaching, I made within 3 months, I made 50K. That is absolutely available to you. And again, it's not 15K that other coaches charge. It's probably something that has to deal with my self worth and I could have charged more. But when you start, that's okay. And this is your permission slip. You don't have to break your imaginary bank of your customers, right? And like it's other people's money is their businesses, but like it is possible. Now, let's talk about the details. So, like you talk about that probably both like group and 101. If you were to create container where you have like group and 101, when you can enjoy both sides of the world, how much would you charge?
Whew. I mean, right now for my one-on-one clients, I know I am charging 3 months for $1,500. Like that's already my set pricing. For a group container, I'm kind of building one right now, and I haven't launched it yet. It's coming, but I'm thinking like a hybrid almost of group coaching, but membership kind of tier. That way, people, that's the lower barrier, whatever proximity offer, right? To get to me. And then if they find they need the support of the one on one, then they can obviously move to that space.
Yeah, for your one-on-one container for $1,500, how's it flowing? Like, is it something that people like? Is it like no-brainer offer? Is it your like, as Hermosi would say, grand slam offer when people like, yep, like $1,500 for 3 months is a steal. Like, shut up and take my money. And like you have overflow of clients and you don't know what to do with them. Or it's like $1,500 for 3 months. Do you have a payment plan? So how
It's
does it look like?
It's not quite that bad. I do have a couple of one-to-one, but I will say that I'm about 50-50 split. I would say about 50% of my audience is like, absolutely, that's super high touch, totally here for it. It's a steal. I know so and so is charging whatever. I'm very comfortable and I definitely should raise those rates. Absolutely. And then I think with my messaging, I'm still speaking to some people who are, not so much, again, it's not finances, but they're so lost in victimhood that they are scared to invest in themselves because they don't believe that they're worth it, that it'll actually work. So it's definitely that split is what I'm seeing.
Okay. Now, how's your capacity right now? Are you at capacity? You're below your capacity? Or it's kind of like, where are you at with that? Like, could you take more clients? Would you like to see fewer clients so you can have more time? Where are you at?
I would say right now I can probably handle maybe five one-to-one clients a month. I currently have two, but that's kind of what I would be my sweet spot because I definitely do not want to under-deliver for those one-to-one. They pay for a premium experience. That's what they should get. And I think the group coaching or whatever the container is that I come up with, that'll supplement the rest of the income.
So, if you were to raise your prices, how much would you charge?
For 3 months, I would probably be looking at a $2,500 retainer.
Okay. What what makes it difficult to make it 3K?
I don't know. I
Because
don't, yeah.
like here's like this is what I know from experience. People who pay like $2,500, right? Because like this is my literally first customer who paid $2,500 to work one on one with me. Very, very for like this first money in my business bank account. I was so excited. I went out like that night and like I celebrated. So the same people who pay 2,500, they can pay $3,000. Like you won't get a lot of objections. Like it's like $500 difference. And what it's going to do for your bank account, you can actually scale to 75K per year, maybe even sooner. I mean, of course, I can't predict the future. I like it's the messaging, it's consistency. Like I can promise you that. And it's like how you show up, like your outbound, inbound marketing, the whole thing. But you can make 75K rather fast. And if it is 75K for you, like you can make it within a year, you can make it within 5 months, you can make it within 8 months, and then you can either choose to do maintenance on your business or leverage the momentum and give yourself permission to either charge more or work with more clients and start increasing your capacity. One thing that I have done, and like before I say what I've done in my business and what work wonders, if you were to build a group container in addition to your one-on-one, how would it look like? Well, like your hybrid container, how would it look like?
It would probably be me coming in to do a group coaching call at a set time, 2 to 3 times per month, where I come in. Everybody can come in for the hot seat coaching. Obviously, I'll have a topic that's kind of on my brain that I've seen in the online space. Unfortunately, trauma is something that happens all the time. So there is no lack of things to coach on. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So I'd have that, kind of predetermined. And if somebody needed advice on that particular thing, and then of course it would be a closed container where people could pop in and I can hop in as needed throughout the month to kind of offer a little spot coaching here and there.
Okay. Have you asked your current clients what they want?
The current clients that I have are the type who are still very much in the healing phase. They're not interested in group. They
Right.
very much do like the high touch one-to-one because, it's very traumatic, very personalized space. I mean, would they eventually move to that once we've dealt with, that foundational work? Absolutely. But for right now, where they're at, they are where they need to be.
Okay. And you ask them like
Mhm.
explicitly, would you like to join Rose? in our, I have another client, Rose, and she's open to group, or like, Rose, would you open to like, I don't know, like Maribel, and work with Maribel together? And like she said, no, I just want to for me, myself, and I. Like this is what they said.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
absolutely. I think there's definitely a separate market for those who've been in group containers and they've either not gelled with the people in the group container or they just didn't feel comfortable being vulnerable. And it makes sense for my niche. When you're dealing with
Mhm.
people who've been traumatized, it's hard to spill your guts in front of strangers. And a lot of the clients who've hired me, they're like, I hired you because, you come on and you tell your story so openly without fear or judgment. And they're like, I want to be that. So hopefully they do get to the point with the continued support container, group container would be good. My hope would be that to build on that, right? So they've gone through foundational work, the intense one-to-one work, and then they could almost be like big sisters to those who do come into the container who need slightly
Mhm.
less work. That's the way my clinical mind kind of thinks of it.
Yeah. So what I have done in my container and that worked fairly well, I started working with people one on one because I like one on one work. My first clients were software engineers, but also there was a lot of spiritual. I am spiritually inclined. My logical mind, I'm more on the logic side. I'm a Virgo. Manifestation is good, but you gotta know how to apply for jobs. You gotta know how to market yourself as a corporate professional. You gotta have this, you gotta have that. And then you can have manifestation, and then you can make, like decent money in corporate. Let's go. But this is not how I did it. Like I started with manifestation process and like really bringing my desire to the vessel, and then building the vessel for my desire. For my clients, I started with that. We were doing a lot of personal work, a lot of strategy work. After they would cut up with foundations, I would say, hey, would you like to work with X, Y, and Z? And a lot of them said yes. And also, what I would do with them, I would connect them on LinkedIn. I would literally have group chats. I'm like, hey, everybody, we have a new client. So, well, it's like kind of like Slack messages, but like in a little bit more personal touch. Everybody would introduce themselves, they would connect among each other, like they would endorse each other, and they're like, hey, like, would you like to be in the same group? I had only one client who said no. I paid for one on one. I'm a very private person. I'm not ready to share that like I was out of work for X amount of years. So like no, I don't want to share that, and they're not at my experience. I'm more senior level than they are, so like I want your attention 100%. And it was fine. But then it grew into this hybrid container where I was running group, and I say, you are eligible for one-on-one, please book one-on-one. And nobody would book one-on-one. Nobody. I'm like, guys, you paid the money. Like, it's included. Like, why don't you want one on one? And they did not want one on one. And eventually I removed one on one. I said, you know what? Why would I put time on my calendar for something that people don't utilize? So, but I'm saying that to say, for you not to replicate me, but ask again, first question, ask your customers. And if your customers say no, this is a signal for you that possibly at this point of time, you don't need to be thinking about group coaching container, especially if it is not something that is on your heart. Like, you know what? I need a group coaching container. Like, I really want group coaching container. And then, like, from you, it sounds like you want more one on one. The market says also, like, they want one, is you need to do a little bit more deeper healing work with your money wounds, with your relationship with money, because it is essential for you to have such a good relationship with money and such a clear abundance mindset that people want to pay for their transformation. Because on one of my podcast episodes, I said vocation money story, right? Like, I believed and I still working through this vocation money story. I believe that people will not pay for anything like that affects them on a deep personal level. People won't pay for healing. People won't pay for therapy. People won't pay for spirituality. People won't pay for life coaching. But like, if I look at my colleagues, right, who don't sell business coaching, they do have really good revenue and they have wonderful retreats. They work with wonderful executives. They work with wonderful clientele and they have different business models. Some, like, you don't know who they are, but they work with a very selective few and they're also millionaires and like very small circles know them. This is the first part on the money mindset and the money wound. You gotta heal it first. And then the second, I think you need to double your prices because when the price is the messaging, is a part of your messaging. And when you say, hey, you can heal with me and build your business for $1,500, it's like I'm raising my eyebrows and like, well, what am I gonna get from it? Like for 101, like are you completely new? Or like what's up? So is it only spiritual or is it only like like I know what I mean. I would probably pay for it because if I were to add up all the therapy work for 3 months, that would probably add up the same kind of money if I have to pay out of pocket for the therapist that I want. So I would say double your prices, and because you have 50% of the people who say, hey, like it's no brainer, it's high level, like we will pay that and we will pay more. And the other 50% is just a mirror and like it's just literally universes showing your reflection of yourself, like that portion of your identity who still need healing, right? And this is why they're saying no, because every time we face the no and we're getting close to our yeses, but also every no and every rejection is a reflection of the part of our identity that we may not have addressed yet. How's that resonating with you?
I would say that's 100% accurate. I can't even argue with you.
Well, I'm glad. Any other question on your question? Because I also want to utilize your knowledge and expertise. If you have questions, if you need clarifications, please ask because I want you to walk away empowered and with detail next steps that you're going to implement within 30 days in your business to make yourself closer to that goal. At least start testing that hypothesis. And hopefully, after 30 days, you can say, Eugene, you know what? I just charged somebody $3,000 and paid in full. So, what questions do you have for me? What can I clarify for you?
I would say then, because I know you say specifically trying something for the 30 days. Like, are you talking about like changing the social media messaging, how I'm networking? Is it just literally something where I'm selling more on social media, saying, hey, I have this amazing transformation. You're going to work very high touch with me for 3 months. And at the end of this 3 months, you're going to be ready to either, like you said, leave the boardroom. You're going to heal while you're
Hmm.
still getting your income. Because I will say, I like what you said about that. They were on the struggle bus for sure, but there are definitely a subset of women who are professional. Maybe they want to stay where they're at, maybe they don't, but they know they can't continue in the vein that they are. So
Hmm.
that makes sense. If you were coaching me, I guess, just really quickly, like I have 30 days to sign a client for $3,000 for a 3-month package. What would you tell me to do?
So, I would immediately restructure the way you market and start planning your content based on your audience awareness. And in marketing methodology, there's so many marketing methodologies. And one of the marketing methodologies, I would use two methodologies. Number one, the core of your messaging and your marketing is identity based marketing because you work with them one on one. It's like, who they want to be. It's less buy my program, but more be this woman or this person. And I actually have a question about the gender too. Number two, you uncover this desire identity, elevated identity based on levels of awareness. Problem unaware. So you have like, and with the trauma informed coaching, it is very essential to give them the verbiage, the words, how they would describe what is happening to them. Because a lot of the time, when it's trauma response, especially when it's high functioning trauma response, high functioning depression, it's like, I have everything that I want. Why the hell am I not happy? Why the hell am I miserable? I'm sitting in this expensive shoes with my Birkin bag, staring at those like men who will obey my command, and I'm leading like, I don't know, like Google, you name it, like big company. But I'm so fucking miserable inside. Why? Right? Give them the verbiage to name it. Because once they name it, they become problem aware, right? And like the first part of your messaging is help to diagnose, problem aware, and then you start exploring them the solution, and the solution is your method, your methodology, and you start like, you don't jump into like, hey, but this is the like this is the remedy. It's like, hey, but there are many options, and this which option would create for you, but my option would do this. For example, let's say I have a red spot on my arm and it's not healing, and you created a remedy that is organic, cruelty free, vegan, energized by the moon. And when people use it, they see the results. It works better, and it's not feeding big pharma too. So you can say, hey, you can use a steroid cream and it will heal, but it will mess up your hormonal balance. And it's actually a true example from physician that I know. That's why men have trouble having babies, because they use that cream. You're like, no way. So you can use that cream. It will work. It will heal you, but there will be consequences. When you use my organic moon energized cream, not only it is fully organic, not only I put the soul and energy into it, but also it heals faster, or it will not leave chemicals in your body. So this is problem aware, right? This is where you have, yes, you do this problem. These are solutions that possibly available to you. This is why my solution is the solution for you. This is like how I'm different. And when they're solution aware, they know like who you are, and they know about your method. Like, organic method is probably really, really, really good. So what do I do now? You help them, like, you look at your DMs. Every single objection, it's a piece of content. You crash objections in your content because they're aware of the offer, they're aware of the solution, and you crashing the objections. And the way I would do that, practically, how you can practically do that, the methodology that I advise my people to do is do 3 live streams per week. It's when you're launching, 3 live streams per week. You can do it slower. You can do it 1 live stream per week and do just big launch, like for, instead of 1 month, it can be like a couple of 3 months. You can launch the whole Q4 for Q1. The key for the live streams is for them to have a convenient place to watch it, because not everybody will catch it on Instagram. I'm sorry. Like, your live streams can be perfectly fine, but they have to have a place where you can say, hey, like, I just talk about it on my recent live stream. Would you like to have a link? And you send them YouTube link where they can conveniently scroll back and forth, because on Instagram, like, it's a torture to watch replay for the live stream. Like, don't do that. Like, be kind to your audience. So, and like, again, like, know why, like, why you're doing this. Like, you do it for the customer. And YouTube, I'm not going to get into YouTube today, but YouTube is another layer of marketing, how people can discover you if you do the SEOs and thumbnails and all the right things, and people will discover you. And it's not about subscribers, it's about views. So, and you do that marketing, and those live streams, right? Especially if you're not a content creator, you can use tools like Descript, other tools where you can cut it up into small clips, and it can be your reels. And you can post literally, like, first live stream, you create a reel like the day after or the day off, and you post, right? And you select the best one performing, like, reel, right? Or like the best one that you like, right? That has the really solid message. Or like in between live streams, you just throw clips and your talk to camera reels. You're talking about, like, you're bringing awareness, and the call to action is to, like, hey, check it out, like, subscribe to my, like, check it out on my channel, check it out on my podcast, check it out where they can conveniently watch it. And also you make sales posts with that theme, right? And this is the mechanics. This is exactly what to do. And from the identity standpoint, it's easy for us to get lost in our methodology, like what we do, but also show people who you really are, like your origin story, your storytelling, you showing up like a human, right? Kind of like showing up like an influencer, but not from like, hey, look at me. It's more so like, hey, this is who I am. This is who is going to work with you one on one. Like, this is my morning. This is my life. Whatever you feel comfortable sharing, because that is the human component of your messaging. Like, this is that creates emotional connection, because, like, for example, you can probably notice the pieces of content that sticks with you from my account is when I talk about my immigration story, about the waitress that we have known for 7 years. Has nothing to do with my business. For my mom that I haven't seen for 12 years. For, like, divorce story, because that's what, like, when you learn who I am, that brings humanity into your marketing. So it's not just about, like, problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware. It's also aware of you. How does it resonate?
That does make completely sense. And I think because we do hear a lot of that topic about problem aware, solution aware, and where they are. But I think at the end of the day, the ship has kind of sailed on, I'm just going to throw out stuff and people are going to buy it. Like it's that connection from human to human. And both of us having that psychology background, we know that already. Like we know that it's human to human. There are, probably hundreds of thousands of life coaches, hundreds of thousands of business coaches. Somebody's going to connect with you. Like you said, I mean, the content that I saw of you was exactly those stories that you talked about. The same way when I have people DM me, they're like, oh, I saw that post you did that you haven't talked to your dad in 7 years because he's a narcissist and he killed your mom. Oh, okay. Those are the stories. That's the hard hitting stuff. It's like, oh, you're a person. You're not just regurgitating crap.
They don't care about your process, about your unique methodology, about like your 5 steps. Like, my father abandoned me when I was 5. Like, your father was a narcissist. Ha! Maybe you can help me with that. Like, and you have unique method like that I don't really care about. Like, I care about my healing.
Exactly.
So
Just fix me, right? I don't care how you do it. Just fix me.
yeah,
Yes.
like the same thing with my content. Like, I say, hey, like, I work 101 and this is why I like, yeah, I like that you're not pulling me into another like $15,000 group coaching container with like 500 people on the call, and I will never get a hot seat from you. So, how, and I promise we're switching to my question, because like you asked such a really good question, and I'm really here to serve, and I want you and my audience to walk away, like literally come back to me in 30 days. So like, hey, I made a sale. I want more.
I
so
will definitely do that. Don't trust me. I will definitely come back and be like, it worked. And then I will give you your shout out and your flowers. I promise.
well, how's that like? We work together for an hour. We don't delve into like a lot of intricacies. Like, how was your experience so far?
No, I will say that it is good because I think within an hour, we kind of diagnosed the problem. Obviously, there's some trauma around previous coaching. I've got some money wounds that I need to deal with. And then again, it took into the positioning of the, okay, identity base. Like we need to speak to, whoever my client is, male or female,
My
whoever that
gosh, yes.
individual
Like,
is.
does it have to be a woman?
And I'll tell you why. Only because, like I said, I've had business coaches like, you have to niche down and you have to speak to that, and I'm like, and I didn't want to because when I first started coaching, it was, I'm a generational cycle breaker. I don't care if it's man. And if anything, men, I think, need it more, only because they're not
We need it
spaces.
more.
Oh, I know you need it more. Trust me. I've talked to a lot of men. They're more reluctant to get that help, but they need it more because they've been told, don't cry, don't show whatever, all those things. And it's like, oh, you raise your kids, you got to raise them just the way you were. Trust me, they need it more than women, I assure you. Again, ask me how I know. My other thing in another life is I'm a rare disease mom too. And I will tell you that in that world that I'm in, the men take it so much harder than the women. It's the women running the organization, it's the women doing all the things and the fathers are like, no shade to my dads, but they're off in a corner like, oh my God, how could I do, so yes, men need it more, absolutely. But a business coach told me like, you've got to niche down, you've got to talk to your moms. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I think my mission, my vision is so much bigger than that. It's huge. It's like, we've got to stop this, moms, dads, whoever, it needs to stop with us. Even if you don't have children, you're an uncle, you're a cousin, like you are affecting the next generation, whether you physically birth them or not. So, yeah, that's where my passion comes in 100%.
A year ago, I was working with a white woman, a coach, a business coach, and I wasn't exactly the same question. I would like to niche down. She had a little different perspective on niche down. Like, niche down for what? Like, top of funnel. Like, niche down. Because this is what my previous mentor said, and I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Majority of my clients, they're Black and Latino entrepreneurs. And it's kind of like a healthy 50-50, right? But majority of them are either Black entrepreneurs or Latino entrepreneurs or some sort of immigration background. And so, should I niche down? And should I say I help Black and Latino entrepreneurs as a white guy? And she said, sure. Like, it's bold and niche. Nobody else does it. Like, you're going to be so unique. So I went to Jerisha. She's a Black woman. She's a business coach. And she said, hey, like, this is who I work with. And she said, like, yeah, it's honorable that you work with Black and Latino entrepreneurs. Like, that's cool. But who are they beyond their ethnicities? Who are they really beyond their ethnicities? Because also, like I'm telling you, I love women like coaches as entrepreneurs. I have admiration, and I don't know why, like those women who work with women, I resonate with their messaging so much, and I love on their content. And often, many of them would slide into my DMs. So like, hey, like, yes, I work with women, but I also have a spot for men, and men for my program. Would you like to join? I'm like, why don't you make it more inclusive? And it's a whole another conversation for another podcast. And I actually have a post coming up on my Instagram and LinkedIn this week. And I'm talking about gender specific marketing. And majority of the time, unless you are OBGYN or dealing with perimenopause or menopause or erectile dysfunction, does it have to be that gender specific? And even when you're dealing with like biology, you can say, hey, with your anatomy, this is how it can manifest because you will be surprised who will come. All right. So, my question for you, I think I'm dealing with one pattern that is showing up for me. It is a pattern of self worth. And I'm not just throwing spaghetti at the wall, like fancy coaching self worth. So, this is what I mean by that. I often attracted, emotionally attracted with people with who are less successful than I am. Like normally with a lot of financial problems. It's gonna speak like talking about the messaging and attracting entrepreneurs who cannot pay, but it's not just business. Like this is not business problem. This is life problem, right? Like attracting friends who need that savior, attracting people who like somehow less fortunate, less resourceful than I am. And my true desire is really attract like either peers or people that I can learn from or lean on. And it's been a struggle. Can we dive into that?
I guess the first question I would ask you, I know you said that you wanted to attract a different, I guess, a friend group. So, well, you're the business coach, so I'll let you handle the business stuff. But
I
from a,
mean, business and friend,
yeah,
like, like, it's just a quality of people. I think once I attract higher quality of people, like higher caliber of people in my personal life, right? Become like I want to become friends with like I don't know, more affluent people, more healthy people, then I will see in my business because subconsciously and energetically my energy will just shift. So that's right.
okay. So I would say, why why is it that you feel that the energy, I guess, okay. And again, I know you're trying to thread the needle with the judgmental thing, but we've got to get nitty gritty here. Anybody here who's watching, it is what it is. Like when you say high caliber, you're talking about people who either have some kind of influence, they have money, they're more emotionally stable. Because I think there's different levels of influence. You want to hang out with
Yeah.
rich people, you want to hang out with healthy people. Like
I want
there's
to
a
hang out with rich, healthy people. That's who I want to hang out with.
emotionally healthy, wealthy people.
Emotionally healthy, yeah, healthy and wealthy and happy, and where we can just where we can just share this abundance and this happiness.
Okay. So I guess the first question I ask is, where are you hanging out? I mean, in your business life, like where are you networking? And then in your personal life, what are the restaurants, the places that you and your husband are hanging out at? Because if you're continuing to hang out in that proximity where you're comfortable, maybe you're going to your favorite restaurant and it's populated by people who are not on that caliber, you kind of are going back to the same places expecting the people there to change.
That's so true though. So where I'm hanging out, like, well, I guess one place where we go is slightly higher caliber people that like like they're more sophisticated. It's more sophisticated food, not necessarily more expensive. It's more sophisticated food. It's a Mediterranean restaurant. It's not a dive bar. But like you made me thinking because for the last probably month and a half we've been going to the local dive bar, and the people there are, it's not the vibe at all. Would I hang out with them if I was just here by myself? No, I don't think so.
Yes. And I will say like this, because there's definitely a vibe when you walk into a place. And I used to struggle with this so bad because I definitely had some self-worth issues. I am an unashamed Disney adult. We go to Disney World pretty frequently. And I remember when we first started going to Disney like 15 years ago, we stayed at, the Disney lower tier resorts because that's where we wanted to hang. So this is kind of like I use Disney analogies a lot. I'm sorry. So, but then when we would go and visit like the Grand Floridian, that's like their high tier one in Orlando, right? I would walk in there and feel so uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm not dressed the way I need to. Like, it was like, oh, I can't afford this. It was this whole thing. And my husband would be like, what are you talking about? Like, you're no better, they're no better than us, whatever. And I would say within the past 5 years, now we walk in and my husband's like, oh, I know you don't want to go in there because it makes you uncomfortable. And I'm like, no, I'm going to put on my inner bad bitch. Let's go. So it's that. And I have another mentor who describes it kind of like this. She says, you've got to put your Marilyn on, like your Marilyn Monroe. There was an interview
Yeah.
that I've heard that she said, she can walk down the street as a normal person, but when she turned herself on, then people noticed her. I tell my clients something similar. Like if you know you're going into a difficult situation with a family member or just somebody toxic that you have to deal with, co-parent with, whatever the case may be, you need to put on your suit. Whether you need to put on your inner badass, you need to put on your iron, for me, it's Iron Man suit. I know I'm going to go into battle almost. It's like, okay, I've got to mentally put myself in that space. So I think to get back to your question, if you're mentally wanting to be there, you need to physically put yourself there as well. And then again, armor up. Like right now, the way you are dressed, you can absolutely walk into those higher end establishments and totally belong. And even if you weren't dressed that way, because I've gone to the fancy hotels in sweatpants and a hoodie and I don't care. So
Yeah.
it's the attitude. And I think energetically, I know we both talk a lot about energy. What you put out into the universe, like you said, is exactly what is mirrored back to you. So the people you're hanging out with, the people you're attracting is energetically what you're getting back.
So, how do I like, okay, that's the place where I'm hanging out, right? But let's say people I'm pursuing. Because, like this is a little bit more complicated because we don't want to be judgmental. We want to give a person a chance. Don't judge the book by its cover. And sometimes the cover is so good when you open the book, it's like, holy shit, like the book is rotten.
Yes. I was getting ready to say that because, my thing is narcissist. And let me tell you about a narcissist. They are the most charming people. When you have dealt with one, nobody will believe you for a while. They're like, oh, but he or she is so great. They treat you so well, or they were such a good parent, blah, blah, whatever. And then you open up that book, like you said, and you're like, oh, God, they really are a piece of shit. Yes, it definitely, you're right. We all judge a book by its cover. 100% true. The cover, sometimes, somebody slipped on a different jacket and kind of left it that way, and it was a crappy book. But yeah, but I think energetically, when you're aligned, I mean, I know for me, and I know you're very spiritual as well. I was raised Catholic. I'm also kind of into my human design as well. So I have a sacral authority. So for me, it's kind of easy because if I meet somebody and it drives my husband crazy because within 2 minutes, I'm like, nope, I don't like them. And he's like, they barely talked. I'm like, I'm telling you, I don't like them. And they can be dressed however they're dressed.
Energy, yeah.
It's an energy thing. It's like, and I think it's trusting your intuition. Now, here's where the self worth will come into play with that. If somewhere down the line, someone has told you you're not worthy of being in that space with those people, you'll start to not trust that inner voice that you have. Because if you see me on a regular day, I totally don't dress the part. I am in sweatpants and hoodies all day long. And then people will see me, maybe see me in a vehicle or see a vacation that I've taken, and they're like, wait, you can afford that? And it's like, again, you're judging the outside by the inside. Yeah, it's a thing. And again, I think it's two separate issues. There's the energetic alignment of what it is you want to call in, and then it's those past stories that you've kind of been telling yourself. Like, what do you deserve? And I think those are two separate issues.
This is so good. Like, and also, like, I think, and tell me if it is true or not, I think it is also internal, like the saver like syndrome that I want to save people. And I see all the time because, like, for example, in my business, and this is something like really vulnerable, I've never really shared that before. I get so geeked up when I chat in the DMs with an entrepreneur who just starting out. And there's nothing wrong with helping people who just starting out. And like they know nothing, like nothing. What is funnel? Like what is messaging? Like I'm a fitness coach. I'm a dating coach. I'm a coach for men. And when I say, hey, would you like to do accelerator program for book and sold out for like 3K for 2,500? Would you like to be in the migrator container for 10K for a year when we're building business side by side? Because this is exactly what you need. You need me to come to your business and build your business side by side for a year, like calibrating messaging, calibrating offer, not just like this is the this is the curriculum, do like go do that, but actually like sitting with you in like in your live streams, sitting with you in the marketing, and then like you can see the needle move, and they just like no, like I just like I'm just like I mean it like and they're truly either psychologically not ready or is that like hey like I'm a bartender on food stamps like I can barely afford food and this is why I started my business. But it feels so good inside when they're like, "Oh my gosh, you know so much." So how do I prevent those energetic leaks and just like I understand they probably needed that lesson. It's probably my like social service to society, but also how do I put boundaries on that? And if I need to serve that population, maybe like have like a capacity and it's like it's a dating business, you name it, like there's so many instances where I just approach those people and then I get geeked up when somebody more vulnerable will share their story with them like, oh yeah, like that's cool, that's why I become therapist. But
Yes.
I also realized I need this wall, not wall but boundary set, like you know what, this is not conducive to my business. This is not conducive to my energy self worth at the end of the day. Because after you talk to five people like that, you start doubting yourself. Like, am I really that? Why am I wasting my time talking to them instead of like, hey, this is my YouTube channel. This is my podcast. Do exactly what I say on my podcast and YouTube channel. Come back in 6 months or a year. You're going to make sales, first of all. And when you make sales, we're going to adjust it. So, how do I address that?
That is also, I think, a couple of issues. One, I will say you probably have a fixer complex. There's a reason
I'm
why
a
we both,
coach.
yes, there's a reason why we both had psychology degrees before we got into coaching, right? Because there was something in us that we had to heal, and now we want to go out and heal everybody else. Now, entering, I think, in a coaching and entrepreneur space, it's like a mental adjustment. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not in, the traditional model where I have a practice and there's insurance and people pay me. Like, it's no longer that model. So, again, it's that tweak. And that's like the surface level. The more bottom level of that would be it's some inner child work. I think that you see yourself in those people.
See myself in those people.
And there's nothing wrong with service. I don't believe that any good that we do in the world is wasted. I do agree with you. If you had five conversations like that, it's going to drag you down. I think there's a time and a place. And hopefully, I think for both of us, once we're in a place where, and that's kind of my goal too. Like, I want to get to a place where I am making the revenue that I want to, that I can go in and speak in places for free and do that kind of work and do nonprofit, whatever that work is. But I think it's the inner child stuff. So it's like, what about in you does not feel safe, right? To say and put up that boundary to that person. Because I think you almost feel like you're saying no to yourself if you don't help them. And then you feel guilty because somebody along the line has told you you have to give of yourself in order to make it. And that's a whole, it's never a simple, like, hey, this is what happened in your past. I mean, it's a pattern of behavior. And I think you're well on your way to breaking it because you wouldn't be here right now. But there's definitely still those little tweaks. And it's not that we can't do it. Like you said, we're here for service, right? Energetically, you can do it. Just again, having that boundary where it's like, okay, I've helped this person, I've told them to go to, or even again, if there's something you need to practice, this is what I would tell you. When those people come up in your DMs, I would already have something in your notes to like copy and paste. They came to me and they're like, oh, I want coaching so bad, but it was something crazy like I can't even afford to get a taxi to go to the next town over or something like that. And I'm like, and I had a cut and paste message. I'm like, here's my YouTube, here's my free Facebook group, here's to get on my email list. I'm emailing all the time. Here's a list of podcasts that I've done. And it was right there, like in a thing, copy and paste. Here you go.
I think one thing that I'm proud of myself, and this is something that I coach my clients to, like, I got a referral and I got so excited. And like somehow that person slipped into my Calendly without clarifying, qualifying questions. So, like, okay, like like conversions happen through conversations. And like you run your consultative sales call and like, okay, like what is like why me why me why now? Like where are you at? And then she said, like, my finances are so delinquent that I cannot pay for bills, groceries. I'm about to be evicted. What I can offer you $1,500 VIP day when we sit together for a day and we fix your, I come up how to fix your situation right here, right now. And if it is too much, this is my free resources. I went straight to the peach because she may not be able to pay her electric bill, but her father will pay for coaching so she can get out of it. Because I've had it happen like so many times. Again, other people's money is not my business. I made the lowest tier offer, and then as soon as she said, like, you know what? Okay, no problem. I did not handle the objections because I mean, like, totally makes sense. Like the same with another guy. He said, like he said, I got laid off. I'm a salesperson. I got laid off. I want to build my business. I said, like, okay, like, do you want to come to my podcast as a guest and talk about your experience as a salesperson? And he said, like, so you're not even going to pitch me? Like, why? Like, you just lost your job and you moved in with your father. I'm sorry, bro, but you're broke. You can afford my services. You can come to my podcast. And, like, this is my public service to you. I know you have such a great potential and you're going through a rough time and it will pass. But like, I want to serve you in the future. So come to my podcast. And he said, like, this is the greatest sales move I ever seen because like normally sales people would pitch me until I say, hey, I'm literally broke. I can pay anything, but like you are so discernment. Just like, how do you know? I'm like, well, you told yourself. You said you moved in with your father. You said you don't have the money and you got laid off. Like, what would I make you an offer? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
And I think ethically too, and it was funny, I posted this in a group that I'm in, and people were so angry about it, but it was true. It's like if you're financially struggling, this is the worst time to start a business. And
Yes.
came at me like, how are you to be able to tell somebody about their finances? I will definitely make an offer to someone like you did. But at the same time, I'm not going to badger somebody over and over again. Like, oh, if you just invest in my program in 90 days, you're going to be paying all your bills and you'll get your, like, that's unethical. And I think particularly us that we come from the background that we do with psychology, like we were trained in ethics. I cannot ethically go out there and sell to somebody who I know is taking money from, let's say, their children to, and I've had a coach do that to me before too. This was a few years ago. And I had kind of wanted to work with her. And she's like, well, your girls don't need their dance classes. They can not dance for a couple of months and to pay me. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, like it didn't make any sense to me. And I think that the coaching, and like you said, we're in a trust recession. There's been too many people out there making promises that they can't keep. I get we need to talk about the transformation, but at the same time, you can't guarantee that somebody's going to make back their $10,000 in 90 days. You literally cannot make that guarantee. The same way, if I work with somebody and say, you're going to be healed from all your childhood trauma wounds if you work with me for 90 days. No, I've been doing this my entire life and I'm not healed from all my childhood wounds. Why would I tell somebody else that? It is a work in progress. You get the tools to hopefully go out and do the thing. It's my job to support you for the time that we're together, give you enough tools that hopefully you can continue that on. Are you going to be triggered later on? Yes, I still get triggered now as a 42-year-old woman having dealt with, I've had multiple coaches, I've had therapy, and I have a psychology degree. I still get triggered. Why would I expect anybody else to not have to do that work? And I think, unfortunately, because of the society we're in, where it's like that instant gratification, where it's like, just tell me the thing to get the thing. Like in your case, I'm sure you have people that come to you and say, just tell me what I need to say to get my first 5K client. It's like, that's not how that works. The same way I can't tell you to give you one thing that's going to make you stop snapping at your kids every night. I would
Hmm.
be lying, and I'm not going to lie.
True. Tell us how, like, that it was such a wonderful interview, by the way. Really, really enjoyed the conversation and your advice to absolutely hit the nail on the head. Where you hang out, what is your circle. This is the reflection of your inner child. I do have very interesting metaphor when it comes to my inner child. We can spin off so many different podcasts, and you gave me so many different podcast idea, like the
Happy to come back
metaphor.
again
Yeah,
to tackle the gender issue because you're right. It's a thing with me too. So, yeah.
like I think I need to do a separate podcast, like
Yes.
literally breaking down. You don't need to do a coaching program for women if a man can benefit from it, because, like, the truth is, majority of your customers will be women,
Yeah.
like regardless. But also, we all have masculine and feminine energies, right? And this is how our souls come to this world. And if my feminine part somehow is so wounded that it doesn't feel safe with a man mentor, I will come to you to feel female part of my identity. And then I will seek for like another, maybe a male coach to heal that part, to reconcile how do I deal with the masculinity and with my masculine part. And like, yeah, unless you are like one coach, I approached her, she was hosting retreats. I like, hey, like I really want to come. Wine is for women. Like not that wine is for women, like, but I really want to come. I don't care how much it costs. Like I really want the experience. And she said, hey, like I can help you because I'm not ready to provide safety for mixed gender retreat because we're renting like a big house, and I can provide safety if there is a man and if there is an issue with boundaries or like with bathrooms and things like that. I am not considerate, and a lot of women will be uncomfortable even if you're not interested like intimately in women. Like it just will not be a good experience for them or for you because there will be this awkwardness. Like I respect that, but when it's your online coaching container, when the men can benefit, like just make your marketing more inclusive, and you don't even have to specify a gen. Like I never say like if you're a successful black woman entrepreneur,
Yeah.
like well like, if you're a successful entrepreneur, and like if I want to speak to like my black and Latino entrepreneurs, I share my immigration story because the first community that accepted me were black people and Latino people. And I go to black church and I go to black barber and I support black businesses and I pay high ticket to my black coaches. My first coaches were two black women who like put me together like business wise. Like that's my origin story. And like you gotta put your money where your mouth is, right? And when you show that in your marketing, then this is like who people that will come. All right, Becky, how people will find you?
Oh, I am everywhere and I keep my handle the same pretty much everywhere. Becky the Cycle Breaker. That's my IG, my TikTok, my YouTube, my email address, my website. Like I said, it's easy for me to remember, easy for everybody else to remember. And I answer all my own emails, DMs. On my Instagram, there's a link to my free Facebook community as well. I do live trainings in there and get more hands on, like exclusive coaching in there. So feel free to find me.
All right. Well, I thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I got tremendous value as a coach. Thank you so much for allowing me to coach you. It was a great honor. And thank you for coaching me and addressing within 40 minutes. This is probably going to be my next deep meditation. Like talking to that boy who lives in the kingdom of kings and queens and why he feels like a boy and not a king or at least a prince. This is my little metaphor for my inner child. All right, thank you so much. And I will see you. I will send you all of the resources and I will see you, my audience, on my next video.